Okay, guys. So I really hope you enjoyed our movie news section. Right now, we're going to get into our next topic, where we're going to be talking about War for the Planet of the Apes review. We're going to give our spoiler-free review, which is our initial thoughts. A quick question that we'll talk about, give our scores, which is going to be the P&Z rating, and then we're going to talk about some spoilers at the end. So, guys, we are going to get into this review. So, all right, guys. So we, me, Zach, and Travis all saw War for the Planet of the Apes the past weekend. Zach, we'll start with you. How did you feel about War for the Planet of the Apes as soon as you walked out?
Very, very... Listen, I love these movies, and as a whole, the trilogy of these three is just amazing.
Yeah.
And I really, really liked this movie. It was so good. It was phenomenally made. But as a whole, I probably like Dawn better. I'm not sure if I like Rise better than this one. But I really wanted to fall in love with this movie, and I just did it. Now, as a whole, I do love the trilogy. It did close out a lot of things. But, listen, the first half of this movie, I'm watching in theaters, I'm thinking I'm giving this a 9.5 or higher, because it is absolutely stunning. It is incredible. Then the second half of this movie really fell off for me, and I ended up really liking it, and that's it.
Yeah, I would have to, like, pretty much, like, almost, like, completely agree, because... for me, this is my least favorite of the trilogy. I honestly do put Rise and Dawn above this. Dawn being my favorite.
Yeah, Dawn's my favorite of the three. Like I said, this is close with the Rise.
Yeah.
Hang on 1 second, Brian.
What?
What's that?
Is that too loud?
Yeah.
It's picking it up.
It's fairly loud.
It's not even loud at all. Oh, okay.
I heard that little somber. Okay. Damn. What was I saying?
Dawn.
You like Rise better.
Right.
Who likes Rise better?
I was gonna say. Shit. I lost my train of thought. I do like. Okay. All right. Now I remember. My biggest issue with War was that halfway through the movie, once it got like towards more or less the final quarter of the movie, it felt like a completely different movie than I was expecting.
Yeah, I fully agree. And at first, I liked it because really the most of the shit you see in the trailers is in like the first half hour of the movie,
which is pretty cool.
Which is really cool. But at the same time, and I love being surprised in movies when movies go different directions that I was expecting. But I didn't like the direction that this one went. And we'll get into that specifically in the spoiler section. But like I said, I can't stress enough how beautiful this movie looks. The CGI is fucking amazing.
Oh my god.
Obviously, Andy Serkis is amazing. Woody Harrelson was great just in terms of cast. So you just know the size, the spectacle is all that's going to be really good. And the whole movie I really did enjoy.
Yeah, definitely. Travis, how did you feel about the movie?
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed War for the Planet of the Apes. Everything you said, I agree with. I personally... I think Rise is still the weakest of the three, personally. I liked Rise, but I did not like
I think weakest is the wrong term to use, because Rise is still really good.
Rise is really, really good.
Rise is still really good.
Rise is only trailing right behind as far as like my favorite of the three. Like, it's trailing very, very close behind War. But on my list, I would go Rise, War, Dawn. I still think Dawn is the best one.
And this isn't really a spoiler, because you do know this much in the trailer. The outside of the little girl... that you see, there's not a main human protagonist as there is in Rise or Dawn, and that was a big issue I had with the movie, because you don't in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, like there's not a clear cut good side or bad side. There are kind of good and bad people on each side, and even Gary Oldman, who sort of plays that antagonistic role in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, you understood why he did everything, and I'd be like, yeah, I'd probably do the same thing. With this one, it's just very clear. Apes are good, humans are bad.
Yeah,
like it's very clear cut in this movie.
I totally agree, and I definitely agree that it dropped off.
I did not like, and while like Woody Harrelson's character as the Colonel, you sort of do like feel for him at times throughout the movie. He's just very clear cut bad guy.
Yeah. As soon as it got to the compound, it definitely dropped off.
Yes,
the final confrontation place. Otherwise, before that, like all the way up to the compound, it was very, very.
And
good.
That's what I was reading a lot of reviews for this movie, and it has I think a 95% of Rotten Tomatoes. And like one of the early reviews I read when it was at like 96%, it was a girl who was basically saying Like, listen, like, everything was spectacle, but, like, I was really bored in this movie, and I don't know why. And I couldn't disagree more. Because Rise and Dawn are both very slow-burning movies, and they build to a big finish. And this one did, too, so I'm perfectly fine with that. So the first hour and a half of this movie, while it is slow, I completely adored. I fucking loved, like I said, the first half of this movie, and then once you get to that midpoint, it would just like took a nosedive for me.
I think for especially for like the Planet of the Apes movies, you don't need a lot of action. You just need a really good story because that's really what the Planet of the Apes films are built on.
And I felt like this
those
one
great
had the
stories.
weakest story of the three.
I agree, and I wish that they focused more on the little girl and her being like the main protagonist human.
They could have.
They could have really done it,
Yeah.
but they kind of fell off and kind of made her just like a cop out.
Yeah.
So,
Now
but
let's talk about. I'm sorry.
No,
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Let's talk about how good Bad Ape was in this movie.
He was my favorite character in the movie, and I know that like Caesar is obviously the best and like most well developed character in this entire trilogy. But in terms of just a single character of a single movie, Bad Ape for me was the best part of this movie. His comedic relief was fucking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
He was so fucking funny in this movie.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll talk about more about him in the spoiler.
We'll talk more about him in the spoiler section. But while this was like the most somber and kind of depressing movie of the three, I also felt like it was the funniest because of Bad Ape. So it balanced it really well, and that was one thing that I really did love about this movie.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, overall, I did enjoy the movie. I really liked it. I wanted to love it because it's, we got all that news coming in that, oh my God, this is better than Dawn. This is gonna be the best trilogy in a long time. And I'm like, it got me so hyped. I'm like, oh God, I can't wait to see this movie now. But then I mean, I guess when you finally saw War and you're like, dude, don't let all that hype you up. Just see the movie with moderate expectations and you should come out fine.
To be fair, though, it is one of the best trilogies we've gotten in a long time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
No, yeah, I'm not taking that away. I'm just saying, like it's. I don't want to overhype myself and have very high expectations and then like come out the movie hating it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I know.
So that's why I went in thinking like, okay, Pedro, don't go in thinking this is gonna be freaking the best movie in the past like 20 years. So I went in expecting a good movie, and that's what I got. So I came out happy. So I will definitely, if I have the chance, I'll definitely go see it again.
Yeah, I just can't help but be a little bit disappointed because at our podcast at the beginning of the year, we talked about our most anticipated movies, and we threw out The Last Jedi. We said that's too easy. Like, we're gonna pick real movies. I picked War for the Planet of the Apes because I love both these movies. So I was expecting this one to be up near the top of my top 10 at the end of the year, and I don't know if it's even gonna make the list because of how many other good movies I've seen, like Baby Driver, which is still holding strong on that top spot. Mm-hmm. But this movie, I'm not sure if it'll make the list just because of how many other good movies. And I'm not saying there's anything bad with the movie, like it's like a bad movie, but it's just one of those movies that I ended up just really liking it, and I did not love it, and I was really hoping to love it. But as a trilogy, I love it. I love the trilogy.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely gonna sit really well on a lot of people's shelves as like that trilogy. So
yeah. It's not one of those movies that drops off so far that it just really lessens the other two. It doesn't. It is a very good and fitting end to the first two movies.
It's not like Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, it's not like Spider-Man 3. It is it is a very fitting and is very well done and is a very good movie and I'll remember it as a good movie.
Now, when we get into spoilers, I will talk about the ending and how I feel about that. But right now,
we'll talk about all the specifics.
Yeah, but as of right now, people, if you have not seen the movie, go see it. If you guys loved Rise and Dawn, you will really enjoy War. Don't expect like 10 out of 10 quality, but definitely expect coming out of the theater.
I don't think you should
really
ever go into a movie expecting 10 out of 10 quality.
No, but
and
no,
that's even like because Travis, you saw Baby Driver before I did, and you said, "Oh, it's right up your alley. You're gonna love the movie. Like you're gonna think it's amazing." And I always try to moderate myself. I'm like, all right, like listen, like I know that, like I know it's probably gonna be really good, but I just want to go in fresh. And I ended up still fucking falling in love with the movie, and I've seen it twice in theaters. I'm going to go see it for a third time tomorrow.
Are we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I am. You're more than welcome to come as well. And so is Matty P. Savage. Matty P. Savage wants some more Baby Driver action. It is that
I
good.
definitely do.
And so Baby Driver was one of my, just quick side note, was one of like my favorite movies I've seen in such a long time. And with War for the Planet of the Apes, I went in hearing it was nothing but amazing, and I just couldn't help but get hyped up, being like, yes, it's a great trilogy. We saw the trailers were amazing, and we were talking about the trailers, and we were like, it looks like it's going to be a really great trilogy, which it is, but I set my bar so high that when it didn't quite get to the level I wanted to be, I was just like, oh man, like I just wish it got there, like I really wish it did. And I don't really want to knock on the movie because, like I said, it is really, really good, and I really, really liked it. But like, I wanted to fall in love with this movie.
Now, before we get into the next thing, one thing I will bring up, I wouldn't say it's a spoiler, but if it is, we'll cut this out, and you guys tell me if that would be a spoiler or not. But one thing that I remember seeing from the trailers is when Caesar keeps yelling out, "Apes together, strong." Now, while they did say those lines in the movie, he didn't say it as he did in the trailer.
Well, that audio was from Dawn.
No, I completely understand, but it's just like, in certain perspective, I was like, oh, if they have him chanting that in the movie, like because it's war. If they say that in the movie, it's just like, oh my god, that gets you so hyped up.
That's the first thing I told you, because you saw the movie after I did. The first thing I told you, I was like, I feel like this movie is wrongly titled, because it's not War for the Planet of the Apes. It's like I know that Battle is like already a movie, but like it's really just like skirmish, like this isn't full out war. And
I was gonna say something
because there's a 2-year gap. You learn at the beginning of the movie. There's a 2-year gap between Dawn and this, and that's where most of the fighting happened. Right. You come in right on the back end of it, so it's not really a big war. And even though you don't get him yelling "Apes together, strong," there is a scene in this movie that orchestrates that in such an epic way that it's even more epic than it could have been if he was yelling it.
Mm-hmm.
I hear you, but it's just like chanting that, getting ready for war is what would have made me hyped up,
Yeah, and we'll get into that more in the spoiler section.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so we're gonna move on to our next thing. And the big question is, should the Academy add a mocap category to the Oscars?
No.
I'll go first if you guys want.
Yeah, sure.
I don't think so. Mocap should not be a category, being on the sole fact that just the acting behind mocap should be enough for actor category.
I know, but the sad thing is, it's not. The sad thing is Andy Serkis is still never getting any recognition whatsoever, and I want him because how many fucking Oscars does Andy Serkis deserve? I mean, you get guys and girls that act and they like, oh my god, they won the Oscar because they absolutely transformed into that character. Matthew McConaughey transformed for the character in Dallas Buyers Club. DiCaprio transformed into the character for The Revenant. Andy Serkis literally played a fucking ape, believably. Like, how is that not enough, okay? Like, I just can't understand it.
I give mocap actors so much more credit because acting, like, using your imagination to act when there's literally nothing in front of you to act with, like, that's something else. That's an entirely different skill.
I'm going to interject here, because we were talking about this before the podcast. We were talking about Benedict Cumberbatch as Smaug.
Yes.
Yeah. And how amazing
in that behind the scenes video, he's like crawling and stuff and really getting into it.
How amazing
with nothing there, and that's so amazing. And Andy Serkis just does it time and time again in all these movies. I just want him to get recognition.
Yeah.
I made the bold claim a couple weeks ago that I said this is the year Andy Serkis gets an Oscar nomination for War for the Planet of the Apes. I still stand by that. I'm not sure if he absolutely will, but I think he should because he is phenomenal in this movie. And without spoiling anything, he does have a line in this movie where his voice sort of like cracks. And you can hear it's Andy Serkis, and in that moment you're like, oh my god, like he just sounds human, but in the most like tragic way because of like the point in the movie where all these characters are at. Yeah. And it was like, it just really made me feel for him, and I just thought like, wow, like that character is completely CGI, and it is like more human than any other character I've seen in a movie this year.
Yeah.
So do you think mocap should be an Oscar?
I think mocap should be an Oscar category for the sole purpose that it is the only way that they'll ever get recognition because they don't pay them any mind. It's like how you're sort of moving away from it now, but it's like how the Academy used to be with like sci-fi or horror. They just did not care. They did not get any recognition. That's just how it is for motion capture acting, and it's literally arguably the hardest form of acting because like you were saying with Benedict Cumberbatch, you don't have anything in front of you to go off of like that. And for Andy Serkis to literally transform, like, you award Oscars to people that transform into characters. He literally transformed into an ape believably. And there's not a single moment of this movie that I thought, like, oh, Andy Serkis. Like, Andy Serkis is so good. I thought, oh my God, that's Caesar. Yeah. Because that's how good he is. And I think you need to give some recognition for greatness, and that is greatness.
I also think that motion capture actors, they get swept aside like they're part of the crew, basically. Like, they're just there to fill in, and then the editors do all the work after that.
Yeah.
And I think that's just disgusting and horrible to do to an actor like that.
I totally agree with you, Matt, and I agree with you as well that they don't get any recognition. I just don't want there to be a mocap category because I want them to get recognition for the acting category.
Listen, that would be, to me, better.
That would be the most ideal.
It would be the most ideal thing if they got just graded as any other actor. But my problem is they're just not, and they need recognition for how good they is. I mean, yeah, sure, Andy Serkis would probably win it every year, but it would be deserved. Like, he is deserved so much. I mean, he was Gollum, he was King Kong.
Yeah, did he win anything for Gollum?
No,
he didn't win anything for anything.
He's never been nominated.
He's never been nominated.
Really?
That's why I said, like, 2 weeks on the podcast, I said this is the year that Andy Serkis gets nominated, and I still stand by that because it won't just be for War for Planet of the Apes. It'll be one of those, like, legacy things. They're like, listen, you've deserved this for a long time, so we're grouping all this in to give you this nomination.
Right,
and that's
like how Leo did, yeah.
Exactly. And because I still stand by Leo's best performance was Wolf of Wall Street, and then What's Eating Gilbert Grape is right there as well.
Yeah.
Revenant, I thought, wow, he was good. It wasn't his best performance, but they gave it to him because they're like, you've deserved this for a long time.
Right.
And I feel like it's the same thing with Andy Serkis. And I feel that Planet of the Apes is the first time that he's been in the limelight, because he's the main character of this series, and it's the first time he's been in a limelight, and that's what really started this whole motion of people getting behind him and like being like, he deserves this. And I just hope the Academy sees it. But if they added a motion capture category to it where he could get recognition, then I think that's also awesome.
Yeah, definitely. I see. Thing is, for me, it's just like I feel like that. If they do give a mocap category, and obviously clear in point, Andy Serkis would win. It's just the fact that I feel like it lessens the honor behind that because he's not. Because I feel like at that point they're just giving it to him. It's just like
I feel like if they did a mocap category, people would see it as less than an actual acting category, and that's
they would, but Andy Serkis would still be getting recognition. And while obviously it would look and feel better if he got nominated for Best Actor, just straight up. That's just realistically, it's not happening. I hope it does. I really stand by my claim that I really hope it does. But just realistically, it has not happened yet. And until it does, I think this would be a great way to show recognition.
To be fair, from Andy Serkis' point of view, would you rather be, recognized for a mocap performance, which people will view as lesser, or would you rather just not be recognized at all? To be honest, I think I'd rather just not be recognized at all, because it almost feels like it's talking down to him. You know what I mean?
I fully disagree. I feel like Andy Serkis has deserved recognition for a long time.
He absolutely does. I'm not saying that.
Listen, like you look at the Best Picture category. That movie for that category for like all of the Oscars ever was 5 movies. Like any other category was 5. Then The Dark Knight didn't get nominated, and the outcry was so crazy about that now it is up to 10. Single-handedly because of The Dark Knight, because of the uprising that caused. And if I'm Andy Serkis and me not getting nominated causes such an uproar for fans that they add a whole new category to give me recognition, how could that not be awesome?
Fair enough.
I could see it definitely from that viewpoint. That would be pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not people still being stuck in their ways. You're literally changing the world the way you want it to be.
Yeah, really. Exactly. Because they're like, listen, we know the voters aren't giving you recognition, so we're going to give you this whole category. So you and people that do what you do get recognized every single year.
Okay. I feel you now. All right. All right, you guys. So moving on to our next thing, we're going to give our scores, which will come out to be the official P&Z Media rating. Okay, so Travis, we'll start with you. What would you give this movie from 1 from 10?
I think when I came out of the theater, I gave it a 9.3, and I'm gonna stick with that.
Really? Wow.
I really enjoyed it.
All right, that wouldn't be it's not my pick, but if you enjoyed the movie that much, that's good for you. So
it's right behind Spider-Man:
Zach,
Homecoming.
you're next. What would you give this movie a 1 from 10?
I sort of backed myself into a corner here. I gave Spider-Man: Homecoming an 8.3, and my reason was I did not love the movie, and 8.5 is where I really start to love it. And originally I was going to give it an 8.6, but the more I talked and more I said, I just really liked it. I'm on the level, so I'm going to give it an 8.4. I'm going to put it right underneath that loving mark for me.
Okay. Now for me, when I initially walked out of the movie theater, I like I said, I really liked it, but it did not meet my expectations for what I wanted it to be.
Yeah, your initial rating was so much lower than I expected.
Yeah, I gave it walking out a 7.8 out of 10. But now, just thinking about it, how much I actually rather enjoyed it and how much more I appreciate it, I'm going to bump that up 2 points. So I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. So
it sounds a lot better than 7.8.
It really does.
You said 7.8. I was like, oh my god. They're like 8 out of 10. I'm like, okay, I can see it. It's just 1-2 difference. But that nice little 8 there, you know.
Yeah. 7.8 sounds like that's the reason why when you initially walked out, you said 7.5 for Spider-Man. I was like, what?
I said Spider-Man was between like a 7.5 and 8. I saw it a second time, ended up getting bumped up to an 8.3.
Yeah. So, all right, guys. So our average score comes out to an 8.6 out of 10. That's our official P&Z Media score. So, guys, definitely check out War for the Planet of the Apes if you have seen Rise and Dawn. And it's actually funny. You actually really don't necessarily need to watch those movies to understand war.
Listen, I was actually talking to Matt about this before the podcast. I said that really the only one that fully correlates into war is Dawn. But Dawn correlates so well in the Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Like you could watch War for the Planet of the Apes with only seeing Dawn, but you need to watch Rise before you see Dawn because it like goes back to it so well. And so like I would still suggest seeing all of them, but I think that this one, because someone that I saw it with, she has not seen either of the movies, and I sort of just gave her a rundown of the first two beforehand. I'm like, all right, here's what happened. Then at the beginning of the movie, they give you the text anyway. Like, here's what happened. I'm like, oh, I didn't even need to do that because they just said exactly what I said. So I think War, more so than Dawn, you could watch without seeing the other two. I don't feel like there's more. This one ties back more to the original Planet of the Apes with Easter eggs and references than it does to either of the first two movies in the prequel series. But if you're going to watch them, you got to watch Rise because of how well Dawn ties back to Rise.
Yeah. Okay, guys, so that's our rating, 8.6 out of 10, and we're going to get into our spoiler talk. So if you have not seen the movie, stop watching now and then move on to our next segment, which is the box office recap of Rotten Tomatoes game.
And we're going to give Matt one last chance if he wants to move into the other room.
No,
put some music on.
I'm braving the storm. Here we go.
All right.
Okay, all right, so you guys have been warned. Our spoiler talk for War for the Planet of the Apes. Now, before we get into like real deep spoilers, I want to ask a question for Zach, because I know you said that this has some little Easter eggs to the original Planet of the Apes. Now, does that have to do with Cornelius?
Yes, they're all
okay.
I'll breeze through everything I sort of noticed.
Okay.
Cornelius, right off the bat, is one of the main characters in the original movie.
I had a feeling that's what.
One of the main characters in the original movie was Cornelius. So it's really cool that obviously Caesar's youngest son named Cornelius. Then also, now this is where it got interesting, and I had a love-hate relationship with this because as a plot point, I'm like, oh, I don't know, that's kind of weird, but it does connect it more to the original, and sort of it lessens the time that they would have to reach to go to the original, and that is in the original movie, Planet of the Apes, starring Charlton Heston. The apes obviously are very intelligent. They all talk. They all control. The humans in that movie are very primitive and they can't speak. They are more like apes, and they speak in sort of like grunts and all that. Now, in this movie, obviously in the series, the apes, they don't kill humanity. The virus does, and they're sort of like what's left. And the virus in this movie then mutates, and it causes people to lose their speech and sort of go into that primitive mind. And to me, that was just a really kind of cool way to sort of connect it to the original, because because in the original, in order to get there, you would have to have like so much time pass that humankind just sort of lost the ability to speak, like through like reverse evolution. But for this one, obviously you can't do that because you already have Cornelius popping up. You have Maurice, who's in the original, and then Nova, who also is a character in the original movie. She is a girl character who cannot speak, and you have her as the young girl in this one, who Maurice aptly names Nova.
Yeah, okay. All right, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so those were... There might be some other ones that I can't think of right now, but those were the main ones that, as I was watching the movie, really jumped out as like, oh, that's a really cool, like, reference. That's a really cool, like, sort of idea they went to bridge the gap between that and the original. And Matt Reeves did say that they have no intention of remaking the original, so that's pretty cool. They still I know they still do want to do other stories and continue it, but they said this trilogy is going to be like this trilogy.
That's pretty cool.
Like this was Caesar's story through and through.
Now, when did the original come out?
1968, I believe. It was somewhere in the 60s. I believe it was 68.
I think it was 68. I think that sounds right.
Don't quote me on it. But yeah, it was in the 60s.
I need to watch it because I have yet to see the original Planet of the Apes.
Very good. Fun fact: I was actually partially named after Charlton Heston in Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, I remember you telling me.
It was 1968. Got it.
Good job.
Yeah. So basically, my name is Zachary Taylor. My mom wanted my name to be Zachary Tyler, but my dad was like, "Oh no, Zachary Taylor," because Taylor was the main character in the original Planet of the Apes, as played by Charlton Heston. So that's how I got the middle name.
So you got
Taylor.
that while your brother got Luke Skywalker.
While my brother got Luke Skywalker, I got Taylor from Planet of the Apes.
Well, it's still a great character.
Yeah, it's still a great character, but I would have rather like Han. Like,
Zach Han Lewis.
yeah.
Is
But-
that
Oh,
Kylo
man.
Lewis? Wait, he's not even alive yet.
All right. So my whole thing with War for the Planet of the Apes is the fact that how we were talking about earlier, like it does not feel like a war because it feels like the war has already died down.
The apes don't even really fight in this movie.
Hell no,
Like, ever.
They don't.
Yeah, they should actually call it slavery of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, well, maybe.
No. Oh my god.
To be fair, though, that's exactly what happens.
Yeah, but at the same time, they should have called it like War Between the Humans with some apes there too. Like that would have been like the realistic title of the movie.
Yeah. And then so the biggest spoiler of the movie, what's his face dies at the end. Caesar dies at the end.
Yeah, what's his face?
Caesar
Good old
died.
what's her face?
I don't like the way how he died.
Yeah, me neither. But here's my problem with it. Okay, in the opening scene of the movie, which is awesome. It's an awesome battle scene between the humans sort of hunting down the apes' hideout, and there are 4 human survivors, and obviously the ape donkey. It was one of the donkey. The apes that turned and helped the humans. They named donkeys, and they all just had it like on their back, and they like branded them with the
Alpha
with this
Omega.
Alpha Omega, which is really cool. We'll get that We'll get that in a little bit too. But so basically, it's this awesome scene, and one of the guys, he's the guy with like the crossbow with the scope on it, and Caesar spares them. He's like, I want you guys to go back and deliver the message that we don't want war. Then he tells Maurice, like, well, they are the message, because then the Colonel will realize that I don't want war. I just want to be over with it. And then the Colonel immediately attacks them. That whole scene happens. We'll get to that.
Can we talk about...
Then, well, I'm circling back to Caesar. Okay. And then, so that human character, that is the beginning and end of his development in the movie, is that opening scene, because he sort of calls, and he's like, Colonel, I'm not going to make it. They're going to kill me. He's like, you got to. He's like, I'm not going to make it, blah, blah, blah. He's like, you're in command now. And he has barely any lines for the rest of the movie. He's in it throughout, but he's just another grunt soldier.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the movie, he shoots Caesar with the crossbow, and the wound eventually kills him. And it's just one of those things where I felt there was a lot of a better direction to go with that if they sort of had him be the one to turn on the Colonel, because he's like, listen, this guy saved me and you're going to get all of us killed.
Yeah.
I thought that would have been a lot more interesting, because there was just no development to that whatsoever.
I agree. I thought that he was going to sacrifice himself for Caesar.
Yes.
That's what I thought.
I felt like that would have been a much better direction to go, but instead, he just has no development, then he just gets blown up.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was such a missed opportunity. And then Caesar just sort of, well afterwards, they make it like across. I don't know if they went to the East Coast, but that is
They didn't go to the East Coast. They went to like the middle of the Colorado Rockies, I think.
Yeah, because the original takes place on the East Coast.
I think it takes place like in the middle of the Colorado Rockies.
Well, they
and
find
then
they find the Statue of Liberty.
but at the end,
yeah.
Charlton Heston like walks across the.
Yeah, I don't know how far he walked. There's no way of knowing.
Yeah.
But like they walk to pretty much where the first movie takes place,
right?
And then Caesar just sort of like is like, oh, by the way, I'm still bleeding. Shit.
Yeah.
And then and Maurice gives him like
it's
this
so
really
weird.
heartfelt thing.
It's
But
like they had such a great direction, and then like halfway.
what I wanted them to do, and I know our good friend Bobby, he also said that he thought of this. was that he actually expanded on it a little bit, because I said I wanted, because there's the window in the first movie that he always looks out of, like it's like the circle with like the diamond window thing, and then he draws it in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and then when he goes back to the house he sees it again, and what I was hoping was there would be something reminiscent of that as he died. And Bobby said that, yeah, as he laid down, because he sort of turns to the rock, he thought that he was going to, like with another rock, sort of like chalk draw the window. And look at that. And I was like, that would have hit home. Like, that really would have hit home.
God.
But they didn't do it. And I felt like it was just another missed opportunity. And it just brings me back to the whole point of this movie was just a tale of two halves for me. The first half was very slow, but it was very good. And then, like you said, once they got to the complex, it just completely changed into a different movie. And they're just like sort of like slaves for the humans. And then you find out, oh, more humans want to kill these humans. Then they attack, and then they escape. And the apes never fight. They just escape.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, though, in the original, they did have like a nuclear war that you don't see.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's just one of those things where I just felt like it could have been done better than just have two human sides fighting.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
In the final act, and the
I totally
apes just
agree
sort
with
of
that.
running.
Right.
Because, like, if the apes all escaped and, like, listen, like, they still have the young apes in there, and they're like, let's break in and fight them, and it was actually apes versus humans at the end, I would have walked out a lot happier than I did. It just kind of left a bad taste in my mouth, because it was just two human sides fighting. The one side you never see throughout the entire movie, you just know they're coming. Then they show up, and then they die anyway because there's an avalanche.
Right.
Like, it's just like one of those things where I was like, none of that was necessary.
It feels like, to me, the first two acts were written very well, and they had like a really good direction going. And then for the third act, something happened where
they were just like, shit.
Either studio intervention or something.
Yeah,
or...
we need like all these human characters that die. What can we do? Let's have them fight other humans, and then an avalanche kills the rest of them. Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. That's what it feels like. It
just
feels like
felt like
they
the third act
were
was very
writing such a
lazy.
good story, and then they got too far into it, and they're just like, well, shit. Now we got to figure out a conclusion.
yeah, that is felt thrown together, the third act to me, and that's just the one thing I really didn't like. And then, like, when Caesar, they foreshadowed his death so much, because when he goes running with the grenade, I thought he was just going to die right there, like Gears of War 3 style. But, it obviously just didn't happen like that. It was very slow death. And then, like, at the end, you see them all sort of happy. But I still would have liked to call back to the first movie if you would have wrote in the chalk out, like, on, like, use the
I was kind of
rock.
hoping that you would see the ship. Like, not like come down, but like you would just see
just like a Cloverfield type thing where it's in the background.
Not really, but like where you would see like you'd see like a shooting star streak across the
Yeah.
sky, and that would be like a hint that that's the ship like orbiting.
I don't think it was
planet.
necessary, because I think they really wanted this to be its own thing separate from that.
Yeah,
because they had the
I
reference.
just thought it would be neat.
They had the reference in the first movie of the ship taking off, like
Yeah.
on the news screen.
Mm-hmm.
But I think other than that, they're like, "Yep, this is going to be its own story. We're not going to bring that back in."
Fair enough.
Yeah, so for me, where it started to feel like a completely different movie was when they were doing the escape from the prison, because it felt like with because you had the fun-esque music in the background when they were escaping.
I did like that
And,
scene
like,
though.
No, I liked it. I don't get me wrong, I liked the scene, but it didn't.
I just didn't.
fit.
I just didn't like that they were there to begin with. But that
Yeah.
actual scene, how they sort of like counted the steps and all that, and were communicating with them, I actually thought that was really cool.
Yeah, the scenes were well put together. It was just the direction they took it in was a
Yeah.
little weird.
Yeah, I just didn't like
Yeah.
the overall direction of the story, but that scene by itself, I really, really liked. I thought it was really well done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was just at that point, it just didn't feel like.
And Bad
the movie
Ape,
I
when
was
he's
wanting.
like, when Maurice told him to get on his back to go up there, he's like, "What? No, 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 no!" And then Maurice just yells at him, and he's just like, "Okay."
That's probably gonna be the biggest reason why I see the movie again, is because of Bad Ape.
Yeah.
I love the part where everybody gets ready, sees everybody's ready to go, and then he shows up with his little jacket and the hat,
And the hat, and he
everything.
gives the thumbs up.
Yeah. Am I feeling, so this is actually another problem I had with the movie. When the gorilla like gives the girl the flower, and then like literally like 5 minutes later he's dead.
Oh my god, I cried.
It was way too soon for me.
If it was later in the movie, it could have hit a little harder.
Yeah,
but
I
that
agree.
did really make, like, I didn't like tear up or anything, but I
Yeah.
really felt it.
No,
I
it was
like,
it
oh,
was still
man.
sad, but for me, like they
If she
they
had
had such
it
a
through,
missed
like, the
opportunity.
entire movie, and then like before the third act she did that, I would
Yeah.
have been like, I would have been crying like a baby.
Yeah, it was such a missed opportunity. I thought that they should have done more with that relationship before that actually happened.
Yeah.
I thought it was so cute when the big ape put the flower on her ear.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
I thought
really
that
cute.
was so
And
cute.
I totally agree that it definitely was a good moment, and even the death was a good moment.
Mm-hmm.
And together they make a pretty good, like a really good like.
But they're spread out a little bit more. If there were a
Yeah,
few
because it was
scenes
like it wasn't even 10 minutes.
it was the
later.
next scene.
Yeah, it was literally the next scene.
scene.
So that kind of like not really pissed me off, but I was just like, that could have been way better.
Yeah, if they wait a little bit, it would have hit harder, I believe.
Yeah.
But it still was.
Is there
very
gonna be a
good.
director's cut of this?
I'm not sure.
Because I feel like there had to have been a scene in between there that was cut or something. Because there's no way they would put them right next to each other.
Yeah.
I just don't think that.
There wasn't a director's cut for Dawn, so I'm not sure if there will be for this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bad Ape was really great though. Like his,
Yeah.
I like when they're actually in the ski lodge, and he's like running. Like every time he runs off,
He falls. He's like,
he
I'm
falls,
okay.
I'm okay.
And then when he when he keeps telling her not to touch, he's like, no, don't touch that. That's mine.
Yeah, that was really good.
How sad was it that his name was Bad Ape? Because that's what the humans called him too.
Yeah,
It was really sad.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, Bad Ape. He's like, Bad Ape. He's like, that's me. And I'm like, oh man, that's so sad.
Yeah.
Like, that's so sad.
Yeah.
and how about when he said that he had a son who died?
Oh, and he's like,
Yeah.
do you think he'll be there? And he's like, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, he's like, he told him that he has a kid had died, and he's just like, do you think you'll find the human there? And at that
No,
point,
he asked if he said he didn't know where he was. He's like, yeah, I lost him. Do you think you'd find him there? And
Oh,
he's
I thought
like,
it was. So the way I understood it, and I saw it twice. The way I understood it was that he understood that the human killed his son, and that he wasn't sure if he would find the human that killed his son there.
No, he was looking for his son.
Oh, okay.
That's
I
like,
thought.
do you think he'd be there?
I thought he knew that his son
no,
died.
he was looking for him.
He didn't say it was a son though. He said it was a kid.
A kid, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said he had a child.
Yeah. I mean, all right, guys. Tell me, is there anything else you guys really want to talk
Probably.
about Planet of the Apes?
I mean, I could probably talk about it for a long time.
I did wanna
but
talk
feel
about-
like those are like all of the main points.
I did want to
that
talk
wanted
about what I
hit.
think is probably one of the greatest shots I've ever seen in cinema history. Like,
The
honestly,
overhead.
the overhead shot of the battle.
I wouldn't say one of the best shots in history, but it's very good.
The way that scene was put together, just I was so in love with that shot. Like I don't even
Okay.
like. I don't think like this. I did say that like the scene was the greatest scene in cinema history. That's the mistake.
No, you
That's-
said it was the best battle scene in cinema history.
yeah, that's not true.
And I was like, wait a minute.
I just think
Like,
that I just
do you
think
ever
that-
see Saving Private Ryan?
I'm just over exaggerating a lot, but that scene I think is probably one of the best put together scenes I've ever seen. Or
Travis,
shot. The
you
shot.
say, you literally say this for like almost every other like really good movie we all see.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then Spider-Man: Homecoming, the vulture scene was the greatest scene I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, that was one of the greatest scenes
Yeah.
in cinema.
Also, the diner scene in Baby Driver was one of the greatest scenes I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
So.
He sees the greatest scenes he's ever seen in his life every week.
For real.